So it's 6 o'clock and I'm going to start the meeting. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded for future publication on the Council's website. The evacuation procedure is a fire drill is not expected, so if the alarm sounds, please evacuate the building quickly and calmly. Please use the stairs and do not use the lifts. Once out of the building, gather around the Virgin Money building, which was formerly the Yorkshire Bank, on the opposite side of the road. Exit by the door by which you entered the room, or by fire exits which are clearly indicated by the standard green fire exit signs. If you're in need of any assistance in evacuating the building, please make yourself known to a member of staff, and please also make sure all your mobile phones are turned off or set to silent. Item 2 is apologies. Councillor Smith, I've got an apology from him and substituted by Councillor Hammersley. Councillor Golby is substituted by Councillor Walmsley. Councillor Croft substituted by Councillor Panda, and Councillor Guttridge substituted by Councillor Kenner. Sorry, I know I didn't say that right. Are there any other apologies? Item 3 then is to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 2nd of June 2021 that are in the pack. So as I was here, I can actually propose those. Have we got a seconder? Thank you. So item 4 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations that aren't included in the schedule? Okay. Item 5, there's nothing been notified about public consultation. Item 6, I've had nothing about any other items. So item 7 is the policy on hackney carriage, private hire, driver operator and vehicle proprietor policy and amendment to vehicle policy. And that's going to be presented by Carl. So I'll ask Carl to present that, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Okay. To request permission to consult at the same time and over the same period on an amendment to the hackney carriage and private hire licensed vehicle policy. Background. The Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council has responsibility for licensing hackney carriages, taxis and private hire vehicles, drivers and proprietors and operators within the borough. The Department for Transport produced a document entitled Statutory Taxi and Private Hire Vehicle Standards, which is attached to Appendix 2. The guidance covered many areas but specifically focuses upon protecting children and vulnerable adults. The Department of Transport therefore expects these recommendations to be implemented unless there is compelling local reasons not to. The proposed driving policy incorporates most of the recommendations outlined in the guidance issued by the Department of Transport, plus additional requirements and amendments to existing policies and conditions of licence. Those areas in the Department of Transport guidance which are not covered by this policy will be the subject of further consultation and consideration, and specifically covers the installation of sound and vision CCTV in all hackney and private hire vehicles. This area has caused considerable differing opinions throughout the country, and I felt that it would be better as an individual consultation process once the present consultation to conditions of licence are concluded. The penalty point system, in conjunction with the policy, is also recommended that the committee considers the introduction of a penalty point system for hackney carriage and private hire licence enforcement. The primary objective of implementing a penalty point scheme must clearly be to improve the levels of compliance within the trade, which would be subject to, but it would help and improve the standards, safety and protection of the travelling public. It is not a punishment, but more of a fair, open, transparent scheme to monitor drivers' behaviour and conduct over a period established whether they remain fit and proper to hold a licence. Points would be accrued to a maximum of 12, at which point the driver is referred to the licensing committee for consideration of what action, if any, to take. Now we come on to the amendments to the private hire vehicle licences. The existing hackney carriage and private hire vehicle policy was approved on the 12th of December 2016 and amended on the 13th of October 2018. The vehicle policy in relation to new or replacement vehicles An extract of the relevant part of the policy appears at Appendix 3 of this report, where it is proposed that a consultation process be undertaken in relation to this authority discontinuing the licensing of new and replacement vehicles which are Euro 4 vehicles or older. Presently, we do licence Euro 4 vehicles which are in impeccable condition. Recommendations of the report is that the Hackney Carriage Private Hire Drivers, Operators and Vehicles Proprietor Licensing Policy attached to Appendix 1 be considered for up to 12 weeks period with the trade, the public and any other relevant persons or bodies, that the penalty point system incorporated with the driver vehicle is also included in the consultation attached within Appendix 1, that the amendment to the vehicle policy be consulted upon for a 12-week period in relation to replacement of vehicles that are Euro 4, are no longer accepted to replace existing Hackney Carriage and private hire vehicles and no longer accept new private hire vehicles of the same type. On completion of the consultation period, a report will be brought back to this committee for consideration of comments raised during consultation and consideration to the adoption and the amendment of the policies. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to propose the recommendations at 2.1 to 2.4. Do we have a second? Are there any questions from anybody? No? Okay. Well, in that case, we'll move on to item 7. Oh, sorry, yes, sorry. If we can take a vote then on that, please. Those for? Item 7 then is the Gambling Act 2005 Statement of Licensing Policy, and again that's presented by Carl. So Carl.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report requests permission to undertake consultation with councillors, responsible authorities, the trade, public and any other relevant group to consider the Gambling Statement of Licensing Policy, which is attached to the report at Appendix 1. The background. The review of the Gambling Statement of Licensing Policy has to be undertaken every 3 years in accordance with the requirements of the Gambling Act 2005. The policy review has been completed for many years in conjunction with all other Warwickshire authorities and Coventry City Council, with the intention of seeking consistent policies, thereby assisting the trade, the public and responsible authorities. We have actually been praised by the Gambling Commission for carrying out this work. The Warwickshire authorities reviewed the generic policy recently and it was decided that no material changes were required to it because of the following reasons. The existing policy has not been challenged in any authority in Warwickshire and is still considered to be fit for purpose. COVID-19 closed all Warwickshire betting premises for the majority of the COVID period and many are now in a recovery period. No new guidance has been issued by the Gambling Commission in regard to this year's policy. And all authorities have seen prior to COVID and after COVID-19 a surrender of betting premise licences. Nuneaton and Bedworth has received the surrender of 5 in the last 2 years. The recommendation on completion of the 8-week consultation period, a report be brought back to this committee for consideration of comments raised during the consultation and consideration to the adoption and amendment of the policy. The Statement of Licensing Policy must be subsequently adopted by full council to come into effect the 31st of January 2022. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so I'd like to propose the recommendations at 2.1 and 2.2. Do we have a seconder? Are there any questions? Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Chair. It's not a question, just a point, really. This is actually a very good policy, and as someone who has sat on a licensing subcommittee to determine a gambling application, I know full well that our policy is very stringent and does its job well. And I think it does need to be reiterated that the Gambling Commission has openly praised this local authority for its policy. So as the Cabinet member responsible for licensing, it has my full support and I hope the committee will support it.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Anybody else? Okay, so we'll go to a vote then, please. All those for? Thank you. Well, thanks for coming, but that's the conclusion of the meeting. Wasn't very long, was it? But
Would you like to stop the live stream?
yes, please.